Jeremiah 33:15-16 says, "In those days and at that time I will cause the righteous branch of David to spring forth, and he shall execute justice and righteousness on the earth. In those days Judah will be saved, and Jerusalem will dwell in safety, and this is the name by which he will be called. The Lord is our righteousness." Well, if you're joining us in reading through this 25-day reading plan, today's reading is Jeremiah 23, verses 5-6, and 33, 14-16, and I encourage you to read that passage. Well, at first it might seem that this passage would be better laid out as if we talked about it when Jesus returns. It has a strong application to Jesus' advent and time when he was first on the earth as well. You'll remember the story told by Matthew and Luke about his birth, and in Matthew we're told that 3 wise men came to him and anointed him with gifts. So he was set aside to be king, but his reign did not start and will not start until the second coming. Well, this is not unusual in prophecy particularly. Many times a king was anointed and his reign didn't begin until much later. You'll remember this occurred with David and when Samuel anointed him, and yet Saul remained king for several years after that. And yet, just as David performed many deeds prior to actually receiving the crown, Christ also performed many deeds and taught many things as well. Well, in addition to all of this, it was known from Genesis 50 that the king would come from Judah. So Christ also had to come from the line of David. And so as we saw before, Christ would be like Moses, and now we also see that he'd be like David. And one of Christ's primary roles as king would be to bring about justice and righteousness. So what exactly is justice? Well, this is a very haunting question today because there are some people who feel that justice is accomplished by being overly focused on the poor and the downtrodden over those who are the exact opposite, and they're very wealthy. Moses was very clear about how justice should be executed. In Deuteronomy 16:19, he writes, "You shall not distort justice, you shall not be partial, and you shall not take a bribe. For a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts the words of the righteous." And in Deuteronomy 27:19, he writes, "Cursed is he who distorts the justice due an alien, an orphan, and a widow." And all the people shall say, "Amen." Therefore, Christ would show us exactly what justice and righteousness would look like. He would not favor the rich and the powerful no more than he would favor the poor and the downtrodden. Everyone would be equal as to how the law would be applied to them. So it should be that way today. The rich and the powerful should not gain from their money and their position, nor should they be punished for the exact same reason. In addition, the poor should not be discounted for their lack of power and lack of position. Each person should be viewed as equal before the law. Now, James laid out the same principle in the New Testament in James 2:2-4, when he writes, "For if a man comes into your assembly with a gold ring and dressed in fine clothes, and there also comes a poor man in dirty clothes, and you pay special attention to the one who is wearing the fine clothes, and say, 'You sit here in a good place,' and you say to the poor man, 'You stand over there,' or 'You sit down by my footstool,' you have not made a distinction, or you have made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil motives." So we ourselves should be a picture of Christ in our relationship with others. We should be just in our thoughts and our actions toward others and righteous in our walk with God.